Ever had that moment when you walk into a classroom, sit down, and suddenly your brain goes completely blank? I once forgot my homework because I left it at home, and I spent the whole day wondering where it vanished.
That feeling is more common than you think. Today, we're diving into the world of remembering and sensing collocations. Those little word pairings that make English sound natural and precise.
We'll explore everything from vaguely remember to acute sense of smell, and even untangle the confusion between a sensitive person and a sensible person.
By the end of this episode, you'll be able to spot the right collocation in a sentence, avoid common pitfalls, and sound more fluent when you talk about memory or perception.
So, grab a notebook, because we're about to turn those vague feelings into concrete language. Ready, Sarah?
Let's start with the remembering family. A basic one is remember someone. You might say, I still remember my grandmother's laugh. It's a simple subject-verb-object structure that signals a personal recollection.
Exactly. And when we talk about memory capacity, we use long-term memory versus short-term memory. Did you know that the average person can hold about 7 items in short-term memory for roughly 20 seconds?
That's a great point, Alex. It also leads to the collocation, have a good memory. You might hear, she has a good memory for numbers, which implies reliable recall over time.
But here's where it gets interesting. Give me a clue versus give me a hint. Both work, yet clue often appears in mystery contexts, while hint feels more casual.
What most people don't realize is that vaguely remember signals uncertainty. Saying, I vaguely remember meeting him at a conference, tells the listener you're not sure of the details.
And that's just the beginning of our memory collocations. Consider remind someone strongly of. For example, that song reminds me strongly of my childhood summers. It adds intensity.
Right. And when a memory fades, we might say memories fade, or memories came flooding back. The former suggests gradual loss, the latter a sudden, vivid return.
Speaking of vivid returns, have you ever heard vividly remember? It's a powerful way to convey crystal clear recollection, as in, I vividly remember the day we moved into our first apartment. Now, let's shift gears to sensing collocations. The phrase sense tension is common in both literal and figurative contexts. You could sense tension in the room as soon as the meeting started. But the real game changer is have a feeling. It's a versatile collocation that can introduce intuition. I have a feeling this will work. Or an emotional response.
What most people don't realize is the difference between trust your intuition and have a feeling. The former implies deliberate reliance on gut instinct, while the latter is more fleeting.
Here's where it gets fascinating. Acute sense of smell versus acute hearing. Both use acute to describe heightened perception, but they're often paired with different verbs, possess or have. She possesses an acute sense of smell sounds more formal.
Exactly. And we also encounter sensitive to heat, sensitive to light, sensitive skin, and sensitive teeth. Each combines sensitive with a noun to describe heightened reaction.
But the phrase go numb is a different animal altogether. It's a verb phrase indicating loss of sensation, often after prolonged pressure or cold.
And that brings us to a common error, mixing sensitive person with sensible person. A sensitive person is easily upset or emotionally reactive, while a sensible person exercises good judgment.
Let's test that with a sentence. I forgot my homework. I left it at home. It's correct, but we could make it smoother. I forgot my homework because I left it at home. What do you think, Sarah? I agree, Alex. The colon works for emphasis, but the conjunction because clarifies cause and effect, which is often preferred in spoken English. Now, back to collocations. What about blot out a memory? It's a vivid way to describe intentional forgetting. Like, he tried to blot out the painful memory of the accident.
And on the opposite side, stir up memories suggests actively recalling, as in the old photo album stirred up memories of our summer trips.
If I remember rightly, there's also my mind went blank. It captures that sudden loss of thought, often before an exam or presentation.
Exactly, Alex. And for completeness, we should mention completely forgotten, a stronger version of forgotten, used when something is irretrievably lost.
Here's the fascinating part. Painful memories and unforgettable experience both use adjectives that heighten emotional impact, but one leans negative, the other positive.
And when we compare time frames, we use memory of what happened a long time ago versus memory of what happened recently. The adverbial phrase sets the temporal context.
What's a good way to wrap this up, Sarah? Should we give listeners a quick checklist?
Great idea. A quick checklist.
1. Pair remember with the appropriate object, person, event, feeling.
2. Use sense with nouns that denote perception. 3. Choose sensitive for emotional reactivity, sensible for sound judgment. 4. Watch for intensity modifiers like strongly, vividly, completely.
And remember, practice makes perfect. Try swapping out synonyms in your daily conversations and notice the difference.
To recap, we've untangled a web of remembering and sensing collocations, clarified common errors, and distinguished between a sensitive and a sensible person.
I hope you're leaving this episode with a toolbox full of precise phrases you can drop into any conversation.
Next week, we'll explore idiomatic expressions for expressing uncertainty, on the fence, in a quandary, and more. You won't want to miss it.
Thanks for tuning in, and keep sharpening those language muscles.
Until next time, stay curious and keep speaking with confidence.